I'd like to welcome you to Smash2piece Theatre. I'm Alistair Cook. This is a podcast in which we watch a piece of classic cinema, review it while smashing it to pieces, if you will, tearing it apart. This delightful program is hosted by none other than Thomas VanZandt, a bloody American, and Nate, the Aussie Appleby. Charming fellow, I'm sure. In this episode, we'll be looking at Marvel's The Avengers, a film in which popular comic book heroes Iron Man, Captain America, and Mark Ruffalo join forces in a tremendous adventure to save the world. Now I'd like you to sit back and enjoy the program as we smash it to pieces. And while I eat this cookie, enjoy.
Thank you, Ghost of Alistair Cook. This is Smash2piece Theatre. My name is Tom VanZandt, and I'm your host, and with me is the better half of the Aussie and the Pom show, Mr. Nate Appleby.
G'day, Tom. I wouldn't say better half. Me and the Aussie and the Pom are equals.
I'm just digging at Russ because he got so bent out of shape because you guessed it on Not Another Nerdy Podcast, and he ranted about it on your show, Aussie and the Pom, and I was very taken aback by his reaction, so I figured I'd just throw that in there as a little jab.
Well, wait until he hears about this show, and I think it will just go to a whole new level.
I was actually going to say to you, have you told your podcast partner about this show yet?
No, the only person I've talked about so far is you, Tom, so Perfect. I've talked to no one about it.
Excellent. Well, why don't we tell the listeners what this show is about, since they're probably wondering what the hell's going on.
And after you explain it, they're probably still going to be wondering what's going on.
I'm wondering what's going on. So this is what we were originally going to call it Aussie and the Tom, but we thought maybe that was a little too on the nose, but so we're going with Smash2piece Theatre, and basically what we do here is we take movies that don't need to be nitpicked, but we try our damnedest to nitpick them anyway. Is that about right?
That sounds about right. Look, anyone could take Batman versus Superman and pick it to shreds. That's easy. We're taking classic movies that don't need to be nitpicked, and we're going to give it a go.
Awesome. I love it. When you contacted me and brought this idea to me, I said, yes, count me in. And actually, it kind of evolved from one of your Game of Thrones Throne Chat episodes that I was on when we were trying to nitpick the episode of Game of Thrones. And Game of Thrones is wonderful and amazing and brilliant, but it has its problems.
Yeah, we couldn't help ourselves, so I thought, well, let's take that to the next level.
Indeed. And down the line, eventually we'll probably do other things besides just movies, right? I mean, we may evolve into some TV and some other things. We'll start off with movies.
Yeah, and we're very open to suggestions as well for other movies, and it's going to start off with me and Tom, but we will be bringing other people on if this show actually works out well. We'll be having guest appearance from the usual lot.
Yes. I'm sure.
If they want to come on.
If they want to come on. Otherwise, you'll just have to listen to me and Nate. Sorry. Not sorry. All right. Well, awesome. Well, I want you to tell everyone what movie we decided to go for our very first Smash2piece Theatre. What is the movie that we are going to smash to pieces, or at least attempt to smash to pieces?
Well, first of all, your first suggestion was Star Wars, and I thought I couldn't bring myself to do it.
Well, it seemed like, if we were going to go with a movie that everyone holds on such a high pedestal and no one wants to fault it, obviously it has faults, but everyone, it's almost like your child. You don't want to admit there's anything wrong with it, when we all know there's obviously something wrong with our children. At least mine.
Yeah, my daughter tried to kick me today, so there's obviously something wrong with her.
So I thought Star Wars would be a good place to start, but I agreed with you.
But then I said, how about we do something that's very popular right now, comic book movies, and we've gone for the granddaddy of them all, the first Avengers movie.
Hulk! Smash!
Yes, indeed, which happens to be my favorite of all the MCU movies. I think I have the first Avengers ranked number 1 in my list.
But will it be after I finish with it, Tom? Is the question.
That is a good question, Nate. That's a very good question. And I'm eager to have that question answered. So, Nate, if our new listeners would like to contribute to the show and maybe offer suggestions for future shows and maybe yell at you for your opinions on this particular movie, how do they do that? I think we have our own special Smash2piece Theatre Twitter now, don't we? How would they reach out to us?
We do have a Twitter. It's Smash2piece Theatre at Smash, the number 2 piece. We find us there.
So just search at Smash number 2 piece and you will find us.
Correct. So that is where you can direct all your hate mail and everything. And I'm just going to say straight away, I'm not sorry for what I'm about to say. They should just make better movies.
All right. Fair enough. Now I'm worried.
No, you shouldn't be. It's all pretty tame.
All right. So we are, of course, going to smash to pieces the 2012 masterpiece, Marvel's The Avengers. This, of course, was the culmination of years of solo movies and all the characters setting up the story. They finally all come together to fight Loki. He was the big bad in this movie.
He was, but there was problems with him.
Oh, sure. As there are in everything. But this did rate 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I don't think you're going to be able to find much wrong with it. I'm challenging you, Nate.
All right, do you want me to get off straight away?
Yeah, go ahead. Kick it off.
All right. This is when we first meet Loki in this movie. He's appears through the Tesseract, if that's correct.
That is?
His entrance was 100% stolen from Terminator.
Well, yes, except thankfully he was clothed.
Yeah, that's the only difference. Like, you had the lightning shooting around everywhere, and then he appears in a sphere, pretty much identical position to what Arnie was when he landed in the Terminator. So I'm just saying, you've got this massive movie, just come up with something a bit more original than ripping it off another great movie. That would be my first nitpick, Tom.
So you don't think maybe... And I'm playing devil's advocate here because that's what we do here on Smash2piece Theater. You don't think maybe that Joss Whedon was given a little homage, a little nod, tipping his cap to...
No.
Okay.
It was just lazy. It was like he watched Terminator the night before and said, what can we do? I've got it. There it is.
Awesome.
That would be my first nitpick of this movie, along with many to come.
Excellent.
Do you want to have a go now, Tom, or do you just want me to keep going?
No, you can keep going. I like that. I like where this is heading.
All right. So when Loki talks to is it Chitauri leader? Is that how you say it?
Chitauri, yeah.
Chitauri, sorry. It honestly looks like they've walked into an old Doctor Who set.
Oh, God.
It was like they were filming this, and Doctor Who had the studio the day before, and they just left it there, and they walked in there and they said, "Oh, that'll do," and that's what they've gone with. And to me, it was the most laziest part of this movie because it looked like polystyrene, and that's exactly what it was.
Well, they didn't want to waste any big budget effects on a scene that was so minimal. I mean, they were saving it for the big end battle.
Yeah, but this is a movie that was building up for how many years? Like 6 years?
Right.
And they've taken shortcuts, Tom. So that is my second problem with this movie.
Okay. That's legitimate. That's a legitimate gripe, and I will give you that.
All right. I haven't even come to my big ones yet. These are just small...
Nitpicks?
Very small little nitpicks.
Okay.
All right. My next one would be Loki's... This is a big one, all right, people. Loki's plan... is bloody stupid. would be the major nitpick with this one. Instead of taking out these Avengers one by one, his great plan was to get them all together to fight each other. And if he hasn't seen the previous 6 Marvel movies, because he hasn't, because he's not in them, or he's in Thor, they don't kill anyone in the Marvel movies. So the heroes down the line, they're not going to kill each other. So I don't understand what his plan was. To get them all in a broom and let the Hulk destroy them or something? I don't get it.
Well, that was his big plan, was to have the Hulk rage out. I'm not exactly...
But here's the thing, Tom. What was the point of it? Was it to take down the Harry carrier, or what's it called? The
helicarrier.
Helicarrier. Like, to me, they just could have had Hawkeye shoot more than one friggin' arrow. And that would have brought it down. Like, it just doesn't make sense. There's a lot. So Hulk makes a huge, big deal, starts smashing things up. The carrier goes down and kills them all. Was that the plan?
I believe so.
But all Hawkeye had to do, and all they had to do, instead of just firing an arrow, they got close enough, just fire a couple of missiles at the carrier, and the whole thing would have gone down anyway. They didn't need Hulk to destroy it from the inside.
But it was a lot more fun that way.
Was, Tom, but we're nitpicking.
Right.
Can I just say I really love this movie too?
Well, I agree with you that he basically allowed himself to get captured in the where were they? France? When Captain
No, they were
America...
in Germany.
Oh, they were in Germany.
And that's another nitpick of mine too.
Oh, okay.
I'll let you go first though.
So they were in Germany, and he basically he allows himself. It seems like he just gives up when Iron Man shows up. He stops putting up a fight. He does his little holographic trick where his armor goes away, and he becomes casual Loki. I like to call him, and he just sits there, and then they take him, and then randomly Thor shows up. Like, how did Thor know that they had Loki, and why did he wait until they captured Loki before he showed up? Anyone notice that? Like, he waits until they do all the heavy lifting, and they have him on the Quinjet, and then he lands on top of the Quinjet randomly. He just happens to know that that's where Loki is. Well, motherfucker, if you were watching the whole thing go down and you knew where he was, why didn't you come down and stop your brother? Why did you let these guys take care of it?
Loki is beyond reason, but he is of Asgard, and he is my brother.
He killed 80 people in 2 days.
He's adopted.
And then you just rudely grab him and take off. You don't bother to explain yourself. Like, hey, he's my responsibility. I'm Thor of Asgard, and I'm taking him back to Asgard and locking his ass up. No, you just rudely take him. Like Iron Man says, don't touch my stuff.
Do not touch me again.
Then don't take my stuff.
You know? I mean, it led to some great lines. That's one thing Joss Whedon can do. I won't smash that to pieces. He can write some dialogue.
He can.
And there were some very witty lines in this movie. But yeah, it was pretty ridiculous that he would just show up, grab him, and take off.
And then when they're fighting, like when Iron Man comes down and Captain America comes down, and they're all fighting each other, they just leave him at the top of the mountain,
right?
Like with no one to guard him.
Sure, he could he could just escape.
Yeah, could have walked off, never to be seen again.
Except I think at that point they probably knew he wanted to be captured too. They're like, oh well, this guy's coming with us willingly, so we'll just leave him up there. He'll be fine. He's not going anywhere. He wants to be captured.
Yeah,
makes no sense.
Another point in Germany, this is really nitpicking because I know some listeners don't like to read subtitles, but he was in Germany and he was speaking English to all the Germans.
Right. That's a good point.
So maybe just a few subtitles. It doesn't need to be much. They could have slowed it down so everyone could read it in time, but that was a problem that I had. Like, come on, please.
But then, if he did that, I'd have to nitpick how the hell did Loki know how to speak German?
He's Loki. How does he know how to speak English?
Well, that's the same language they speak in Asgardia. In Asgard.
Someone's going to start a show called Smash2piece Podcast, and they're going to just smash this podcast to pieces.
That's right. They could be like, a guy doesn't even know the name of Asgard. Where does he get off criticizing this movie?
So we'll move on from those little nitpicks. So once they're all in the carrier and Black Widow finally finds out that Loki's plan is to make the Hulk angry and then release the Hulk inside the carrier and start a fight, which doesn't make sense.
Oh, just a real quick aside. I have to nitpick something, but it's actually something I'm actually happy they did, but it's a nitpick. That scene when she's standing in front of Loki, that is such a blatant shot of her ass. I mean, she's in that skin-tight leather outfit, and they're just showing you her ass, and it's a long, unnecessary shot. And I'm thankful.
Well, it's like when you first it's like when you first see her. She's in that dress and her boobs are out, and yeah, you don't see like Tony Stark half naked in any of his shows, or just a picture of his ass, do you?
Thankfully, no.
So where I was up to? Yeah, so Black Widow finally works out that the plan is to make Hulk angry. And then the first thing that this super spy does is rush into a room with Banner and gets right in his face and tells him to calm down and stop being silly and they're here for you, and gets right up and agitates him. Like, why would you do that? Wouldn't you just sort of come off to the side and say, look, they want you to get angry and that's their plan, so maybe just keep calm and do that. So that
go in the corner and smoke some weed.
Yeah, do something like that. That was one of the things that I did not like. I'm just reading through my notes because I watched this a week ago. Can I just say, people might not like this one, but Captain America uniform in this movie looks shite.
I will have to agree with you. It's pretty bad. Thankfully, they corrected it by the time they did Civil War or Winter Soldier. That Captain America outfit looked good.
Yeah,
but the original Captain America First Avenger costume and the outfit that they used in the first Avengers movie weren't great. Those weren't good looking adaptations.
And Agent Coulson saying that sometimes you need a bit of inspiration. And so his idea of inspiration is to dress one of your heroes up in just one country's colours.
Well, his name is Captain America. It's not Captain Earth Milky Way.
Yeah, but this is a global event. Like, he's obviously already pissed people off over in Germany. It's like the world is at destruction. So you need the world to come together. Maybe, I'm sorry to say this, America, but maybe don't be so arrogant. And just tone back a little bit. That's all I'm saying.
Nate, we will never stop being arrogant. Never. Just get used to it, buddy.
Well, yes, true. Have you got anything else, Tom, that bugged you about this movie?
Oh, my God. The fact that...
I do, by the way. I've still got more.
Oh, yeah. No, well, I was waiting. My parts come towards the end. That's why I was waiting for you to get to that.
Yeah, mine are heading towards that bit now.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of setup, a lot of unnecessary setup, a lot of silly interactions, like you said, people agitating the Hulk or Bruce Banner unnecessarily and things of that nature. I did think it was kind of hokey and corny when Coulson was bleeding out and dying. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie. Although he comes back for the TV show.
In Agents of
S.H.I.E.L.D. So don't worry about it. But anyway, when he dies in the movie, and he actually says to Nick Fury, "It's okay, boss. They need something to avenge." Like, really? That's your final thought? Your final thought as you know you're dying is, well, I'm dying, but at least now those team of assholes will come together and fight for the common good.
And the fact that he's so arrogant that he actually thinks that he's that special that they will want to revenge his death especially.
Well, he was that special. You saw how hard Tony Stark took it. I mean, Captain America barely knew the guy. He even said as much. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know him, but he seemed like a great guy." It's like, thanks, Cap.
All the other people that died on that carrier, and no, he's the one that's going to bring them together. Right, arrogant fuck, Phil Coulson.
Rest in peace.
But he's back alive, so it doesn't matter.
Do you mind if I crack a beer at this point?
I do not.
There we go. That's what I
another problem that we have constantly throughout this movie is the fact that they act like they're all wearing earpieces, but they're clearly not.
Yes, they're communicating telepathically. Yeah. Apparently,
it's like when the Tony Stark's trying to fix the carrier's engine, and he's talking to Captain America.
What's it look like in there?
It seems to run on some form of electricity.
Well, you're not wrong.
And yeah, he just keeps on putting his hand to his ear, but there's nothing in his ear. You can see it clear as day, and it's just ridiculous.
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, what is he shouting over the sound of the engine, and Captain America maybe can hear him? That's part of his superpowers. He has super hearing as well. That's why he could hear him over that. That was another issue I had when the rotor starts spinning super fast, and he wants Steve, Captain America, to pull the red lever to slow it down manually. And, of course, Steve's busy fighting these Loki zombies, shield agents, so he can't do it. He's not there, and so the rotor inevitably starts going faster than Tony can fly and sucks him down underneath, and he gets, like, banged around. Look, I know the Iron Man armor is tough, but it's not adamantium, and it's not made of vibranium. So how the hell did it withstand that giant rotor blade not crush? How did it not crush him? I mean, he was getting tossed underneath it. I mean, at the very least, the thing wouldn't be functioning. Even if he did survive, then he just flies out and he's like scratched up, but he still works. The armor's working. I'm like, really?
Yeah, it's Tony Stark's armor does what it needs to do in any particular movie. So
it seems to be the case. Like, if there was a plot point where they needed an ice cream cone, it would probably immediately dispense ice cream.
Yeah, it reminds me of James Bond movies. At the start of the movie, when he's talking to the guy that does the gadgets, and he always seems to
talking to Q.
Yeah, talking to Q, and he always seems to get the gadget that he needs for a particular thing that's going to happen in a couple of hours in the movie. It's amazing.
That's right. You like how they do that?
Yeah. I do like how that happens.
Oh, don't worry. I'm sure at some point we're going to smash to piece a James Bond film or two. I'm sure.
No, because we did say that we're only going to do good movies.
Oh, come on now. There are classic Bond movies that some would say are without reproach.
Well, I'm not one of those people, Tom.
This may have to turn into I dare you to watch this movie. I might have to force you to watch a couple movies here and there. I'm getting that feeling.
All right, then. Don't worry. I'll pick them to pieces. I'll smash them to pieces. Sorry.
There you go.
Got to
carry the
promote.
Carry the
All
brand.
Right,
carry the brand.
So we're pretty much up to a few things happened, but basically we're down to the final showdown in New York.
Well, before that happens,
apparently we're not up to that part yet. So Tom's just going to tell me what I missed.
I'm going to tell you what happens. So. This is my biggest nitpick with the entire movie. It happens right here. So Tony Stark and Bruce Banner are talking to Captain America on the helicarrier. This is before Hawkeye shows up and attacks with his Loki zombie shield agents. And they're saying that Loki's looking for something that he can use to stabilize the portal, the same portal that he appeared through in the beginning of the movie when he showed up and looked like naked Terminator. And so they're talking about that, and they're like, but he would need a huge self-sustaining power source. And Banner says, well, you have that arc reactor powering Stark Tower. Isn't it supposedly going to power itself for a full year or something to that effect? And Captain America is like, oh, Stark Tower, that big, ugly building? Well, so you guys have already determined this early on in the movie what the plan is, and that they're going to want to use some technology from Stark Tower. Why do you wait until way later in the movie, after the attack on the helicarrier? They're all sitting around and they're like, oh, gee, I wonder where Dr. Selvig's going to build that portal. And then all of a sudden it's like a light bulb goes off in Tony's head and he goes, oh my God, Stark Tower. And so the next shot is they go to Stark Tower, and Dr. Selvig not only wanted to build the portal creator thing, I know that's not the technical name for it, but that's what I'm going to call it right now. Not only did he want to build it at Stark Tower, that motherfucker has already built it and is on Stark Tower with it. And my question is, this is my biggest nitpick. I'm going to smash this to pieces. You're Tony Stark. You are a billionaire. You have one of the most technologically advanced buildings in the world. It can't send you a fucking text message and let you know that somebody has infiltrated. You don't have, I mean, even Jarvis at the end of the first Iron Man movie tried to tell him that Nick Fury broke into his apartment and was there waiting for him. You don't have any kind of security. You don't have Pepper Potts or Happy Hogan or any human being working for you that could have seen Dr. Selvig walk through the front door of Stark Tower and with all this bullshit. go up to the roof and start assembling it. I mean, I'm sure it must have taken him a few hours to put it together, right? I mean, at the very least, nobody warned you that this was happening until you get to the building and it's already assembled and he's about to fire it off, and then he does. He turns it on, the fucking beam of light goes up into the sky and opens the portal for the Chitauri to come through. What the fuck? I'm sorry. That makes no sense. That's the worst part of this movie. It boggles my mind.
I can explain that, being the devil's advocate.
Okay, go ahead.
It's just more of that American arrogance.
Oh, here we go. As my co-host Jay Money would say, oh, here we go.
He clearly just thought that it was no one's going to try and break into Stark Tower because I am Tony Stark, and I will just turn up with my Iron Man suit and I will sort that shit out. So he didn't even worry about security. He didn't worry. He probably told Pepper Potts to take a vacation, and Happy was obviously off doing something else because he wasn't in this movie.
No.
So obviously just the arrogance of the man, and let's face it, the character is very arrogant.
He is. He's a likable arrogant.
Yeah, but like you said, they had already worked out this grand plan of Loki's
earlier,
like half hour ago in the movie. Yeah. You're right. Why didn't they? He could have set up a camera.
Yeah.
Anything. Oh, they're there. Let's just swoop down, grab all the shit that he's building. Done.
Right.
Movie over.
Right. I mean, Dr. Selvig just walked onto the premises. No alarm went off. Like nothing. He didn't trigger anything.
Don't need alarms at Stark Tower.
Loki's there. He's already chilling with his staff with the mind gem in it.
Yeah.
Silliness. And my biggest nitpick, my biggest thing that I have to smash Avengers to pieces for is that one plot point. It's awful. Stupid.
That is very good, Tom, and I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't even bring it up. I went for more really tiny nitpicks. But that is a hell of a...
That's a major plot hole right there. And just as a quick aside, not that we're doing this movie, but in the sequel, Avengers Age of Ultron, I had a similar problem where it's very convenient. Just for the story's sake, they just let this shit happen that, you know, if you really thought about it, wouldn't make any sense. So in Avengers Age of Ultron, Ultron ends up gaining sentience. He kills Jarvis and takes over one of the Tony Stark armors, the Iron Legion. They fight him. He gets away through the interwebs. He through the internet, he escapes. He goes to the old Sokovia Hydra fortress that they had just fought at in the beginning of the movie. And they had defeated all of the Hydra agents and just left everything as is. So there's all this machinery, all this technology, all this weaponry just lying around left behind, and Ultron is able to go and utilize it all because the Avengers just left it there. They just left it there. Oh, this will be fine here. No one's going to come look at any of this. And so he has the ability with this fortress and this technology to build an entire legion of Ultron bots. And I understand it was necessary.
It's a fair point.
I understand it had to happen because otherwise you wouldn't have had a fucking movie. I mean, you're not going to fight one Ultron for the whole movie. That'll get old quick. But it was just silliness to me that nobody. I mean, they could have easily have solved the problem if Ultron showed up at the fortress and there was like a small shield detachment there, kind of keeping guard on it, and he just defeats them. Even if they did a quick little scene like that and explained it, I'd have been okay with that. I could have lived with that. But there is no explanation.
All right, Tom, we're going to get back on target here because we're talking about a different movie now.
Sorry, yes, I'm sorry.
It goes to, after saying that, I'm going to say this. The worst enemy in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Tony Stark.
Enemy?
Think about it. He creates this suit in Iron Man, and then someone tries to recreate it. He created Ultron, and that went south. He's created Stark Tower, which is now being used in the Avengers. Everything Tony Stark does turns to shit.
So you're saying he is the cause of all of the Marvel Universe's villainy?
Pretty much. That is what I'm saying. Just remember that Twitter @Smash, the number 2, piece.
Yes, because I'm sure you are going to hear from plenty of people saying that you are reaching and you are crazy.
Facts are facts, Tom.
Well,
facts are facts.
I will give you credit on Ultron. He did create Ultron. That was totally his fault because he merged the mind gem with his Ultron and program and created the sentient life form. That was definitely his fault. I'm not going to blame him for the Chitauri thing. Well, no, you know what? I am going to blame him because he should have had better security to keep Dr. Selvig from building that fucking thing on his building. You're right. God damn it.
And if it didn't have that arc reactor inside his building, it wouldn't have worked. So therefore, his fault again.
All right. I'm coming around to your way of thinking.
I thought so. Soon I'll get you to say Batman vs. Superman was actually a good movie.
You will never get me to say that. Sorry.
So in the final battle, when the Chitauri comes through the portal, one thing that I noticed was Thor gets up there, gets his lightning going, and takes out massive amounts of them.
Right.
My problem is he only does that once.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes. Why wouldn't you be doing that constantly?
Right. That should be your tactic. He could just stay up there. Every time the next group comes through, he'll blast them. They all die. And then the people on the other side of the portal will be going, maybe we shouldn't come through because we're just going to die. That would have worked for me. Right. Would have been a very short battle, though.
Yeah. I'm not even going to go on about how Hawkeye is in a battle with aliens and he's got a bow and arrow because that's his thing. I will say the Hulk in this movie doesn't make sense from the beginning Hulk to the end Hulk where he can all of a sudden just change into the Hulk.
Oh, I agree with you there.
Dr. Banner, now might be a really good time for you to get angry.
That's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry.
Yeah.
And know what he's doing all of a sudden.
Yeah, when
I'm always angry.
He says, my secret is I'm always angry, and he literally just turns around and morphs into the Hulk easily. Like, there's no, convulsing, there's no pain, usually Banner's, writhing on the ground as he transforms and grows, and this was, I have to agree with you there. That's one thing I will happily smash to pieces with you. That is is stupid.
The Hulk in the Carrier was just rage-filled, beating up everyone. And then the Hulk, by the end of it, is catching Tony Stark. Iron Man, I should call him, because that's his hero name. He's catching him from the sky and saving his life. They're two different Hulks in this movie. And I will say I thought this is the best Hulk we've ever seen in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
But that bit really did bug me. And so I did Hulk smash, and I smashed it to pieces.
Yes, you did. Well done.
And that is pretty much it for me, Tom. I couldn't find any other faults, but I think I found a few.
Yeah, well, I had that one big one. That's a real problem for me. That's laziness on the part of Joss Whedon. Actually, what that is, hey, we're running out of time, so let's just have this happen. We're not going to bother explaining it, and we'll just move on to the third act. That's exactly what that was. And
this is why this show is going to work, Tom, because you look at the bigger picture and I look at the tiny details like they stole a Doctor Who set.
Awesome. I love it. Well, I enjoyed myself, Nate, and hopefully our listeners did too.
Hopefully we have listeners, Tom.
Oh, I'm sure. We'll get a few knotheads and AP Posse members to come along for the ride, I'm sure, at the very least.
Do you want to pimp out your regular show for us?
No, not really.
No, I think you should.
All right. This isn't my job, though. This is J Money's shtick.
We can get Virtual J Money to do it if you like.
Sounds good. That's what we'll do. Virtual J Money, why don't you tell everyone where they can find all things Not Another Nerdy Podcast?
Okay, Tom. As always, you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/NotPodcast1. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter, both at NotPodcast1. We are on Apple Podcast, Podbean, Stitcher Radio, Google Play, YouTube, NerdPodcastMafia.com, and we are also on PodKnife.com.
You are so money and you don't even know it.
Thanks for that, J Money. And I will get Virtual Mrs. Pom to tell everyone about Aussie and the Pom.
Oh, I don't want to start more beef between me and Russ, but I'm a big fan of Mrs. Pom. Big fan.
He's great.
Yep. She has a fan over here in America. I can promise her that.
She has one arrogant American fan.
That's true. She has the voice of an angel, that Mrs. Pom.
G'day, this is Nate from Aussie and the Pom. Only joking, but I bet I had you fooled there. This is Mrs. Pom. Make sure you check out all things social media. You can tweet us at Aussie_the_Pom, or on Facebook and SoundCloud and iTunes, you can search Aussie and the Pom. You can also find out everything and more on our website, AussieandthePom.com, where you'll find lots of things such as movie reviews and every episode that these guys have ever recorded. Hours of fun. Ta-ra now.
Yes. Well, I think that's probably a wrap for this show then, Tom.
I would agree. That's a good first effort, I believe. And obviously, as we go along and we get our groove on with this thing, we'll figure it out and it'll run a little more smoothly, I'm sure. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm enjoying doing a podcast with you, Mr. Nate Appleby.
And I'm enjoying doing with you, Tom.
See that, Russ? Suck it.
Now.
All right, well, let's wrap up this particular first voyage episode, not Bon Voyage, but the first voyage of Smash2piece Theatre. I have been Tom VanZandt, your host.
And I've been the Aussie, Nate.
That's right. I need a cool code name like the Aussie. Okay.
The arrogant American.
I was just going to say, I've been the arrogant American, Tom VanZandt.
And I've been the calm, collected Aussie, Nate.
There you go. We'll see if that lasts.
I'm never calm, collected. So.
You have been listening to Smash2piece Theatre. Thank you very much, and we will talk to you again very soon.
Later.
Well, that was quite good. Sugar cookie, was it? And thank you for joining us on Smash2piece Theatre. Suppose it was as good as one would expect from a bloody American and an Australian. I've been Alice the Cook. Good night.